Welcome to the Fight of the Week. I'm Don Dunphy, your ringside commentator. Two glamorous, power-punching young heavyweights provide the action as unbeaten Cassius Clay of Louisville meets Sonny Banks of Detroit in the 10-round feature at Madison Square Garden. The bout originally scheduled for tonight between Eddie Machen and Cleveland Williams was postponed because of a training injury to Machen. Cassius Marcellus Clay is but 20 years old, but he's making a strong imprint on the sport of pugilism. As an amateur in 1960, he won the AAU light heavyweight, the Golden Gloves heavyweight, and the Olympic light heavyweight crowns. As a professional, he has won all 10 bouts, scoring 7 knockouts. Lucian Sonny Banks is 21 years old. Till now, he hasn't been as spectacular as Clay, but he may pack more power in a single punch. In 12 starts, Banks has won 10, scoring 9 knockouts. He was stopped by Joe Shelton, whom he KO'd later, and outpointed in a 5-rounder by Chuck Garrett. That last was a year ago. Since then, Banks has scored 5 straight knockouts, all in 5 rounds or less. Banks is 6'2", while Clay is 6'2½". At the commission weigh-in today, Clay scaled 194½, while Banks was 191¼ In just a moment, we'll bring you the 10-round heavyweight fight between Cassius Clay and Sonny Banks. All ready to go here at Madison Square Garden, and our ring announcer, Johnny Addy.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 2 very good boxing shows in New York next week. At the St. Nicholas Arena Monday night, lightweights Jackie Kelly and Joey Donovan meet in a 10-rounder. And 1 week from tonight, here at Madison Square Garden, return bout, former welterweight and middleweight champion Sugar Ray Robinson will meet Denny Moyer in the feature attraction of 10 rounds. Now, here are the ring officials assigned by the New York State Athletic Commission. The judges, Frank Forbes, Joe Agnello, timekeeper George Bannon, counting for the knockdowns Johnny Colan, your referee for the main event, Ruby Goldstein. From Louisville, Kentucky, wearing white trunks, weighing 194½ pounds, the former Olympic champion and undefeated as a professional, Cassius Clay. His opponent from Detroit, Michigan, wearing black trunks, he weighs 191¼ pounds, Sonny Banks. Main event, 10 rounds.
Is there any question or questions either one of you boys would like to ask about the rules of New York State? Do you feel you know about the mandatory 8 count? You know that when a man gets knocked down, he must take the mandatory count of 8. And the other man goes to a neutral corner, remains there till I tell him. You know everything. We shake hands now, not when you come out, and good luck to both of you.
Scoring here in New York is on a rounds basis with a supplementary point system. If the rounds come out even on an official's card, we have a mandatory 8 count, as Ruby told you, and a 3 knockdown rule. A man floored 3 times in a round is out for good. Round 1, 10 rounds scheduled. Clay in the white trunks and Banks in black. If Banks does anything, it's figured to be early. He's a power puncher early in a fight. Clay is the most loquacious heavyweight since Jack Sharkey. He's ranked 9th by Ring Magazine. Banks is unranked. Banks' power mostly is in his right hand.
Clay takes a swing at Banks with his left as Banks moves in low.
Banks, by the way, making his first appearance on national TV. Clay has been on television twice.
Banks unleashes a left hook, but Clay backs nimbly out of reach.
Clay has dazzling speed of hands and feet when he opens up.
Clay goes on the attack, but Banks retaliates with a stinging left that catches Clay on the side of the head. Clay hits air with a couple of swings, and they end up in a clinch on the ropes.
Banks is trying to reach him good with that right hand.
Cassius Clay's Greatest Hits, Volume 2. A solid left from Banks is followed up with a right, but neither trouble Clay.
Banks is reputed to have quick hands, like Floyd Patterson. I say reputed to. We were seeing him for the first time ourselves.
Banks backs Clay into a corner, and Clay holds on to him until Banks pushes him away.
Ruby Goldstein, the referee.
A sharp left from Banks catches Clay off balance, and he goes down.
There goes Clay on the floor. He's got to take the mandatory 8 count.
Clay was up on his feet straight away.
There's the mandatory 8 count. 1 minute to go in round 1.
Banks loses his balance briefly and stumbles, but stays on his feet. Then the two fighters exchange blows in the center of the ring.
These boys are punchers. Don't turn away.
Clay dances around his opponent, while Banks stays low, ducking and weaving.
Less than half a minute to go in the round.
Clay lands a couple of punches to Banks's head, and he responds by landing glancing blows from a couple of left hooks, following them up with a right, then a left that Clay easily dodges.
10 seconds to go in round 1.
After a brief exchange of blows, it's Banks who throws the last punch of the round.
There's the bell. First time that Cassius Clay was ever down. So he gets in there with great fighters like Marciano and Lewis, who also were down occasionally, but were great nevertheless. Banks came here to fight, so did Clay. Clay knows he can take no chances now with either hand of Banks.
Banks continues to stay low, bobbing and weaving, looking for a way through Clay's defense. Both fighters are standing their ground in a spell of evenly matched sparring. Clay remains light on his toes, dancing around Banks. His punches are sharp and fast, but Banks appears untroubled by them. Banks keeps both gloves up, guarding his face. Clay holds his lower.
Less than 2 minutes to go in round 2.
Clay throws a left, and Banks ducks low to deliver an uppercut before holding Clay in a clinch. Banks ducks low again as Clay moves in on him.
Fighters who come out of a crouch, as Banks is on occasion tonight, have caused confusion to many great fighters. Clay can't be classified as a great fighter as yet.
A flurry of blows is exchanged, and Banks briefly hits the canvas.
Let's see if they count that a knockdown. No. Banks was bothered by that punch, but Ruby Goldstein ruled it no knockdown. Now he hurt Clay again. Banks apparently has power in either hand. A minute to go in round 2.
Banks is backed against the ropes, but a fast left hook gets him out of trouble.
Everybody's been looking for Banks' right hand. It's the left hand that he's causing the trouble with. There goes Banks down. That's a knockdown, all right. A flash knockdown, just like the one that floored Clay in round 1. Mandatory 8 count. Now the knockdowns are even. 15 seconds to go in the round.
Clay throws a right-left combo to Banks's head, but Banks has his gloves up, and the blows glance off them. Clay shows no sign of tiring, but Banks is starting to look a little sluggish.
Round 2 almost over. There's the bell. Let's go back to the corner of Cassius Clay of Louisville. And in that corner, we see his trainer taking the mouthpiece out. That'd be Angelo Dundee. On the right-hand side, leading in, the veteran Nick Florio of the Florio brothers, and just coming into the picture, the very fine trainer and co-manager of Emil Griffith, the former welterweight champion Gil Clancy, who's now putting a little Vaseline on the face of Cassius Clay. Meanwhile, over on the other side of the ring, we have Lucian Sonny Banks of Detroit, and facing him in dead center of the ring is trainer Ted McWhorter. Leaning in from the right-hand side, the veteran Harry Wiley, who has been a trainer of Ray Robinson for some 22 years, and rubbing the arms of former fine heavyweight from Detroit, Johnny Summerlin. Summerlin's on the left. Scoring one knockdown. Is round 3. And both have shown inexperience at times. Clay's had only 10 professional fights, and Banks has had 12.
Banks assumes his usual crouching position in the center of the ring.
Clay's leaving his hands a little bit low. That's understandable when Banks fights out of a crouch.
A flurry of jabs from Clay sends Banks against the ropes.
Now Clay seems to be coming on a little bit.
He keeps up the pressure, punching and jabbing, but Banks absorbs it.
That's a long, sharp jab that Clay has. Turns it into a left hook on occasion. 2 minutes left.
Banks stays defensive as Clay catches him with a right.
Banks has suddenly become a mark for head punching.
Banks throws a left-right, but they barely make contact. Clay responds with 2 left jabs, then a right hook to Banks's head.
The man yelling stay in there is Bill Faversham, one of 11 Louisville businessmen who managed Cassius Clay.
Clay catches Banks with several sharp blows to the head, backs off, then hits him with a hard left hook.
1 minute to go in round 3. Banks was roughed by that left hook. And he's getting roughed a little more.
Banks reels against the ropes. He tries to respond with a left, but only succeeds in throwing himself off balance. Clay keeps up the pressure.
Banks is in real trouble. But he can punch it back yet. 30 seconds left in the round.
Cassius Clay's Greatest Hits, Volume 2. Banks doesn't seem ready to throw in the towel just yet.
10 seconds to go in round 3.
He's hanging on, quite literally. Clay hits him with a hard right just before the bell.
Hold everything, hold everything. Ruby Goldstein is asking the commission physician, Dr. Alexander Schiff, to come in and take a look at Sonny Banks, who had took quite a going over from Cassius Clay in the last round. And let's see whether or not the doctor recommends that the bout be allowed to continue. Apparently he told Ruby Goldstein to allow it to continue up to a point, to use his own good judgment. Banks was in real trouble, and the ropes kept him from being floored a couple of times in round 3. Banks scored a knockdown in the first round, having Clay down with a good punch, and then Clay floored him in the second round, but the third round was all Clay, and Banks was in real trouble. A warning buzzer is sounded for round 4. Black trunks. Round 4.
Clay's straight in with 2 left jabs to the face. Banks ducks low to deliver a body blow, but Clay then catches him with 2 huge punches.
That's all. Ruby Goldstein is stopping the fight. That's all. Sonny Banks wants to continue. Only a few seconds had elapsed here in the 4th round. A knockout for Cassius Clay, coming from behind after being floored in the first round. Here's Johnny Addy.
Referee stops the bout. The time, 26 seconds of the fourth round. Winner by a TKO, Cassius Clay.
There goes Cassius Clay across the ring to commiserate with game Sonny Banks, who came close to glory when he had Clay on the floor in the first round, but Clay was just too good.